Welcome in, wrestling fans, to the Power Hour. I apologize for those expecting it at 8 o'clock. I was just on another Power Hour with my brethren, Joe Youngblood from PAWrestling.com, and he turned the Power Hour into an hour and a half hour show, Eric. So we're going to have some speeding up to do. But the good thing is we are ready and locked in to go, Eric, to talk about the West Super Region in AA and also take a look at what's to come at the state tournament. But first, Eric, tell us a little bit about the weekend. How was IUP and how was the action there? I feel like it was just deja vu from the West, the Southwest region, was it not?
In some ways, it did feel like that. There were a couple matches that definitely felt like we had kind of seen that before. And, it was a little bit of deja vu there. We saw Jackson Arrington dominating again, Dayton Pitzer dominating again. Those guys kind of doing the same thing we saw the week before. But there were also some crazy matches. One of the craziest ending was in a blood round match between Patrick Cutchamber of Quaker Valley and Ian Eckenrode of Cambria Heights. Eckenrode was losing, had just gotten taken down, looked like it was going to seal it. He ends up elevating Cutchamber and pins him with 5 seconds left to go to Hershey and send Cutchamber home. So it was so dramatic. Got a flying headlock from Oleg Melnick, in the third place match. Almost had a coach fight in a heavyweight match. There were some crazy things going on.
Yeah, it certainly looked like so, and I don't want to waste any time with the way Joe put us back. So let's get right into 106 pounds, Eric. And you look at the winner. That's Hunter Robeson from Sagertown, a guy we're familiar with. He was at the Surge a couple years ago. He was at Jenner McLean, then goes to Quaker Valley for just a hot minute. Ends up at Sagertown this year. He's 19-1. Wins a tough 1-0 match with Cooper Hornack from Burrow, who we thought was going to be in that finals match. Robeson, a junior versus a freshman, he gets the win. What did you like about him in that finals match to really get that 1-0 win?
Just the toughness. You could see, he's a junior 106 pounder. You don't see a lot of those. So he was really mature, and he was a guy that, obviously really tough to score on. He gets the shutout there over Hornack, who's been fantastic all postseason and really all season. So just a kind of a gritty, gutty win by Hunter Robeson, and, looks like a guy who could be a state finalist, state champion.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, Eric. And you look at the rest of the field here, and this was a deep weight class if you look at the state rankings, right? Because, you had Robeson, Gill, Hornack, Bainey, and even Hunter Gold from Conneaut, all kind of in that, top 10. And Landon Bainey loses to Robeson, drops down, loses to Gill. Gill, he takes Hornack to 3-2. That was a tough match, but you look at some of these wrestlebacks. Gill beats Gold 3-2 to get to the blood round. Bainey pins Cazales to get to that third and fourth place match. Hunter Gold then beats Cazales in the fifth place match. I think there was a lot of close, between that 1, 2, 3, 4. I really think there's a lot that, there's not a lot that separates them.
No, I think if you wrestled this, 2 or 3 weekends in a row, you might get some different results out of it. But it was a great event overall for these guys, to really get tested. And like I said, Robeson was the guy that came out on top and, showed that he can grind out a win.
So if we go and look at the state tournament bracket, Eric, Chase Burke from Benton is at the top. He won a very tough East Super Region. He's going to have Landon Bainey right off the bat. I think that's going to be a good match. But let's look at Cooper Hornack from Burrow. You're a freshman. You finished second in Super Region. And congratulations, you get Brendan Wenzel from Montoursville, a returning state champion nonetheless. So that kind of sucks. But Wenzel, and we've seen him have up and downs this year. We saw him at Powerade lose, and he did lose in the East Super Region. comes back to take third. But, I could see a potential All-District 4 semifinals here with Chase Burke and Brandon Wenzel. Aiden Smith from Notre Dame is very tough. Him and Louis Gill, both are freshmen that were high on our top incoming freshman list. But I think Hunter Robeson from Sagertown is kind of in the driver's seat to get to the finals on that bottom half.
Yeah, and I think we're probably going to say this a lot, but with an 8-man bracket, you're like, man, those are all good guys, and they are,
they should be.
They're all
Yeah.
state medalists,
Right?
So yeah, but you look at that and you're like, wow, Baney gets Burke in the first round, and like you said, Cooper Hornack's a runner-up, and his reward is Brandon Wenzel. It's like those are really ridiculous first-round matchups, but we're in the state quarterfinals now.
Yeah. Let's go to 113 pounds. And can you try to explain 113 to me, Eric? Because I can't make heads or tails of this. So
okay, I got the inside info.
Okay,
Cohen Baney did not eat well last weekend. He ate Reese's Cups, drank too much Gatorade, and frankly, I was shocked whenever I didn't get to see him and Vargo, but I really thought that was going to be a good match in the regional, and I was shocked whenever Chris Vargo majored him. And that's nothing against Chris Vargo. He's a quality freshman. We know that, but we also know how good Cohen Baney was. So I was really surprised by that, and I was probably less surprised by this weekend Baney beating him than I was by last weekend Vargo majoring Baney. And I think Baney's a really good kid, and I think we've all probably underestimated Bryce Beatty, who just keeps going out to IUP and making the finals.
Yeah, right. I mean, all he does is make finals at IUP. So let's start with the Chris Vargo Callan Bowman match, right? So, Bowman has a very, he kind of falls apart at the Southwest region, and you're thinking, okay, like you have a shot to beat the guy who won that bracket here in that first match, and he takes him the tiebreaker too, right? Sophomore versus a freshman. But Vargo, I thought, was very impressive to get that win. That's a hard-fought win in that match.
Crazy thing about this, and I think Dyson pointed this out whenever we were there were no takedowns in that match. Like it was all reversals and back points. Like it was a crazy match. I mean, you thought that Bowman or that Vargo had it wrapped up, and then you thought Bowman did, and then Vargo comes back and takes the lead, and then we go to overtime, and it was just a crazy match. Really entertaining first round matchup for the Super Regional.
And like you said, with all these good wrestlers here, you're going to have these really good matches early and often. Bryce Beatty, he comes out, beats Justin O'Neill in the semifinals, pins him. He pins his way to the finals. But Cohen, I mean, he must have skipped the Reese's.
He did. He had Subway this weekend. He was golden.
Well, he should.
I think
eat
he
that
should
again
replace
in
Jared.
Hershey.
He should be the new spokesman for Subway.
Yeah, I mean, they say it's the meal of athletes, whatever it is. Vargo comes back to take third. Very impressed by him because it's, he gets that hard-fought win, loses to Cohen Baney, but then comes back, wins by injury default over Damian Michaels. That I heard was not so good. We're hoping that Michaels is doing just fine. Vargo comes back to take third, beating Justin O'Neill 6-1. Callan Bowman, returning state finalist, does not make it out to the medal round, loses to Justin O'Neill 7-3. Are you surprised by that, Eric?
I am a little bit. I know that in talking with Josh Deputy from Chestnut Ridge, he said he was really, even though Callan didn't make it out this time, that he was pleased with his performance in this tournament and that he looked a lot better this time around than he did in that Southwest region. But, he just put him in such a big hole being in that fifth place spot in that Southwest region. If, he's third place, maybe he has a different path here and he gets back to the state tournament. But it was just a really difficult spot to be in there.
So if you look at the state bracket, Jaden Pepe from Wyoming area is at the top with Justin O'Neill. I like Jaden in that match. Robert Bobby Gardner from South Williamsport. This is a guy you better keep an eye on. And I think the first time we saw him was out in Fargo. He's got Bryce Beatty in that first round. I think that's one you got to watch. Both were state qualifiers last year. I think that, that's probably one. I'm sorry, Bryce Beatty was a state qualifier the year prior. He was regional 7th last year. Bobby Gardner was a state qualifier last year. I think that's one you got to watch. Gavin Bradley from Athens, 38-1. His only loss was in the East Super Region finals to Jaden Pepe from Wyoming area, who he had beaten the week prior. He's a real deal. Chris Vargo's gonna have his hands full with him. Cohen Baney, he has a favorable matchup with Adam Schweitzer from Notre Dame Green Pond, who's just now seeing his first action as a varsity wrestler, but wrestled really well in the East Super Region. I think we have a Cohen Baney versus Gavin Bradley, and yeah, I don't know who to say with Beatty and Gardner, but I think whoever it is gets Jaden Pepe.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. I think Pepe is, to me, kind of the guy on the top half of the bracket there. That bottom half, I don't know. I mean, Gavin Bradley is so tough. Vargo's looked great all season. Lost, as we said, in the super regional, but yeah, I don't know. That bottom half is interesting to me with that Bradley Vargo matchup. And then I agree with you, Cohen Baney's probably the guy coming out of there and into the semis. But Baney Bradley, that'd be a heck of a fun match too.
Yeah, I mean, heck, if Cohen eats right, I mean, he certainly could find himself in the state finals potentially. Baney is a state qualifier from last year. Gavin Bradley's just that savvy veteran. He's a two-time state medalist. He finished sixth as a freshman, seventh last year. Pepe was third last year in the states. There's a lot of guys here with a lot of experience and wins and medals already to their name. So I'm excited to see how 113 shakes out. The best probably match of the tournament had to be 120 pounds, Eric, and that was a rematch from True Power where Mason Gibson takes out Penn State recruit, two-time state champion Gary Steen of Reynolds in a wonderful 5-1 match. That was worth the price of admission had there been admissions there. Did they let fans in? Did they let fans in
They
at
did.
all?
I did hear they were actually selling some tickets there, I think.
Well, you were there. Did you see like other humans there or?
There were more fans than there were for the regional tournament. I know that.
Okay. All right. Well, Mason Gibson, freshman, Super 32 champ, Super 32 runner-up, takes out Gary Steen, who flips from Pitt to Penn State, undefeated, two-time state champion. I mean, wow, what a match that was, Eric.
It was, and I don't know if you saw it. I'd run the Twitter poll beforehand. Very unscientific, but 90% of the respondents, I said, which Northwest-Southwest matchup are you most looking forward to seeing the potential matchups? And 90% of the responses were Gibson-Steen, and it did not disappoint. It definitely lived up to the hype. Gibson, it was interesting because we don't see a whole lot of him on top. He does mostly take him down, let him up because he wants to score like 30 points a match. And so he's usually playing that game. But in this one, he actually showed his top game because he tilted Steen for the first points of the match. And so that ended up being really big. He's leading 3-1 in the third period. And, Steen really held his own on their feet until the final 20 seconds. He went for an inside trip. And then Mason just hit a dirty duck under that, was just amazing to see. Yeah, it was. It was really nasty.
Yeah. So Mason Gibson wins it. Steen is second. State medalist Owen Reinsel from Brookville, who was fourth in the state last year, he takes third. JoJo Subishin from Fort LaBeouf had a great tournament. He beats Hunter Walk from Tyrone 2-1. I thought that was a great win, and then beats Trevor Husick from Tussey Mountain. He beats him by fall. He was probably my biggest surprise there because he was third out of Northwest. Didn't really know what to expect out of him. I thought Walk was going to beat him, but JoJo Subishin had a great tournament here. I think overall, you look at the state bracket, Brett Unger is on the top half, so we could see what we saw last year with a semifinal rematch. It was an Ironman rematch. They wrestled in the state tournament as the state dual team tournament. Gary Steen was 1-1 with him going into the state semifinals. He beats Unger in the semifinals and then beats Joey Fisher in the finals. Steen does. I think it's a Steen-Unger semifinal match, and I think it's a Reinsel-Gibson semifinal match on the bottom with, of course, a Gibson. And I'm going to go with Steen again. Unger's he's going to be close, but I don't think we're ever going to see Mason versus Unger. I really don't. I think it's going to be a Steen Mason rematch.
I would lean that way. I mean, I think Steen and Unger are close enough that I wouldn't be shocked if Unger beats him. But I think he's won 2 of the previous 3, so I think you got to lean Steen. And then, as you said, Mason Gibson has seen Reinsel twice this season and majored him and teched him. So I think Mason is certainly the safe bet to come out of there on the bottom half of the bracket.
Yeah, super super talented, and three just absolute studs that are just kind of head and shoulders ahead of the rest of the, all three are nationally ranked guys. Let's go up to 126 pounds, where Joey Fisher, undefeated senior from South Park, headed the Clarion. He has no real issues with this. He wins 13-3 over Senepal. He wins 7-3 over Dull from Chestnut Ridge in the finals. Connor Saylor is not bad, and I went back and watched that match, and that was a convincing 3-0 win for him. I don't think he was really threatened in that match, was Fisher, but Fisher's first, Saylor second. McLaughlin from Greenville Chase is third, and Ross Dahl takes fourth here. I think after Fisher, it kind of opened up a little bit. Connor Saylor beats Chase McLaughlin from Greenville. That was a rematch from the Northwest Region tournament. I thought, okay, let's see what you got against Fisher, but not a lot there, and I think Fisher's just kind of poised to get that state title that's been elusive to him thus far.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him, or I've seen him a couple times, with Powerade, with the regional, now the super regional. I mean, he just looks really solid, and he's always had a lot of offense. Right now, he's really tough to score on as well. So that's making for a really tough time for opponents of Joey Fisher.
Now look at who finished in the bottom half. Russ Dahl was third in the Southwest region. He beats Braden Johnson from Port Allegheny, but then he beats Cooper Gilhan from Baldigo area 4-2, who had just beaten Easton Toth from Forest Hills. I feel like there was kind of a reversal there, because Dahl was third, Toth was second, and Cooper Gilham, he's kind of in that mix there, but I just feel like those three, you could throw them in a bag, and you just never really know who's going to come out on top of that.
No, because Dull lost to Toth in a dual meet earlier in the year, then beat him last week at the regional. So those guys were back and forth. Cooper Gillum, as you said, is a guy that can win that. Just and just a really kind of even field. Ross Dahl is a guy that we overlook all the time. He doesn't get the credit, but man, he just grinds out victories, and he's never flashy. He's never the most exciting guy to watch, but he just posts results. So
Yeah.
Good for Ross Dahl.
So let's take a look at the state tournament bracket. At the top, you have Scott Johnson from Muncie. He's a sophomore. Last year was a state qualifier. Super highly touted freshman coming in. Was unable to make it to the podium last year, but man, this year he's having a great year. He beats Gable Strickland from Benton in the East Super Region. Gable Strickland was a guy who I thought, could really push Joey Fisher. He's a two-time fifth place finisher, is Strickland. He's going to Lock Haven, so a couple, PSAC, future PSAC
rival schools there.
Yeah, potentially going at it here. I think it's going to be a Strickland and Joey Fisher. I don't think Fisher's going to have any issues with Nolan Ziegler from West Perry. I think Strickland comes out from that bottom half, so I think it's going to be a Strickland versus Fisher semifinals. I think Gabe Gramley's going to beat Connor Saylor, and I think Scott Johnson. I think you're going to have three of those District 4 guys all in the semifinals, because they are all that good. Strickland,
yeah, we talked about
medalist.
This a couple weeks ago with Mitch Rupert.
Yeah, we did. You're right. Yeah,
that weight class and just how loaded it was in District 4.
Yeah, so I mean, but I'd fully expect Fisher to come away with a state title. I just can't see him being denied. He wins the Powerade. We saw him at True Power. The kid's just ready to rock. And the thing I like about Fisher is he's loose. He's ready to go. He's not uptight. He's not nervous. He's just kind of letting it fly. He's having fun. He's just having fun and wrestling well. So I think those two go hand in hand.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that he's been on the big stage. He's won Fargo. He's been to the state tournament multiple times before. I think you're right. I think he's just, he's already got the commitment out of the way. He's not trying to impress college coaches. He's just going out having fun and picking up W's.
So another guy who's having fun and could probably be charged with assault and battery, and that is Jackson Arrington. Holy heck. What the heck is Jackson Arrington doing other than just demoralizing people. And I saw the photo that you posted that of like you said like this is what happens when anyone wrestles Jackson Arrington. It's just like I don't know who is wrestling, but
It
the
was
guy just
Connor
like
Pierce. I mean, the number 4 guy in the state.
and he just like is screaming like in pain because like
Yeah,
Arrington's just
Arrington
like
is just destroying people. I mean,
21-8 major decision win in the West Super Region Finals. And like you said, number 4 in the state, Connor Pierce, who is a
these guys
two-time state medalist.
They both got their 100th win. They're both juniors. They both got their 100th win in the semifinals. But I mean, the gap between them is just huge. I mean, and that's not a knock on Connor Pierce. That's just how freaking good Jackson Arrington looks this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Jackson Arrington just did what Jackson Arrington does. Tech fall, major decision to win the title. Connor Pierce, 2-time state medalist from Harbor Creek. He is your runner-up. Zach Whitmer from St. Joe's Academy. He loses to Pierce 4-3, but comes back in a big way to win by major decision over Kyle McCullum of Beth Center, who earns his first state medal. This is Zach Whitmer's 4th state medal. So Zach Whitmer, I feel like quietly is a 4-time state medalist. He's never been. I don't feel like he's ever been in that threat of the top 2, but he's always been on the cusp. Just kind of flying right there, with the rest of them. But he does earn his 4th state medal. Again, you look at the state bracket here, Eric. I think it's clearly a Jackson Arrington, Brandon Kletos. I think those two are going to meet up in the finals here. Arrington's got Cade Wernzenberger from Meadowbrook Christian. Whitmer and Heckman from Midwest, I think should be a good match, but I'll take Whitmer to come out from there. Arrington in the finals. I don't think anyone's touching Arrington, including Brandon Kletos from Notre Dame Green Pond.
No, I haven't seen it. I mean, everybody that Arrington has wrestled this year, and it's kind of funny because for me, I cover both Arrington and Mason Gibson for the Johnstown newspaper, and both of those guys, it seemed like every tournament that I'd go to, they would just be matching each other point for point and destruction from destruction. And we finally saw Mason get tested this week. I mean, it took a 2-time state champ to do it,
right?
But we saw him get tested, but Arrington just keeps blowing people out of the water. And until I see somebody that can hang with him for 2 periods, I got to go with him.
Yeah, I mean, Kletos is not. He's a very good wrestler. He's going to Rutgers. He was 3rd in the state last year. He was 6th in the state the year prior to that. But like you said, I just until anyone's even close to being remotely close to Jackson Arrington. I mean, look what he did to Dylan Chappell in the Powerade finals. I mean, he's just on a different level. I don't AA, AAA, doesn't matter. Like he's just on a different level. Let's go to 138 pounds in the West Super Region. Brock McMillan again beats Ian Oswalt from Burrell in the finals 5-1. This is like the 4th time or 5th time in their careers that Brock McMillan was able to get a win there. Oswalt 2nd. Monol from St. Joe's Academy, kind of like Whitmer, kind of stuck behind 2 buzzsaws, but he finishes 3rd. Carson Flyer from Mercer kind of surprised me. He ends up taking 4th here. There wasn't a lot of depth outside of McMillan and Oswalt here, Eric. So I wasn't totally shocked to see just Carson Flyer come out with a win over Foster, and then Nolan Schaefer to get to that 3rd and 4th place match.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, whenever you've got McMillan and Oswalt, 2 guys of that caliber, and I thought it was funny, the Glendale coach said, it was like Groundhog Day with these 2 because they just keep showing up and meeting in the finals at
IUP,
every tournament in the postseason now, it seems like. And, I feel bad for Ian Oswalt because he's always right there with Brock McMillan, but, just can't quite get over that hurdle. So that's one that, I will get to the bracket in a minute, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see those 2 meet one more time. And then Eamon, you brought up a really good point. He and Whitmer, I kind of made that point in a story for the Center Daily Times this week that they do kind of fly under the radar because they're in Jackson Arrington and Brock McMillan are in their weight classes. So, they're not winning District 6. They're not winning the Southwest region. They're not winning the Super Regional, but, they're right at that level with the best guys in the state. They just happen to have 2 phenomenal guys in that same weight class as they are.
Yeah, and we talked about where they match up in the state bracket, and Ian Oswalt is going to have his hands full with a very, very tough freshman, Connor Hare from Montgomery. Very, very impressed with him. I'm not saying he's going to be on the same level as Oswald, but I think he's going to push him. Aldurfer from Faith Christian Academy, who we saw at Powerade, he was down at 32, goes back up to 38. I'm not sure. We'll see if that pays off or not. David Kreidler from Allentown Central Catholic had a great East Super Region. Look at how deep that East Super Region was. You had Aldurfer, you had Kreidler, you had Hare, and you also had Logan Bartlett from Lewisburg. Not bad. Amon Ole was going to have a very tough match with Kreidler there. I think Brock McMillan is clearly the guy to beat here. It's just a matter of is he going to see Oswald in the finals again? I say yes, and can he close that gap? And I don't know if Ian Oswald's going to be able to figure out something that he wasn't able to figure out the last 3 times that they wrestled.
Yeah, and that's obviously something that he's right there, and it's a move here or there, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but yeah, McMillan just knows how to win and finds a way to get those tough victories over Oswald every time they've met so far, I think.
If we go up to 145 pounds, one person that I was very impressed with was Caden Berger. He beats Ty Simmerman 8-0, who has over 150 wins in his career. And then he beats a very, very tough Kenny Dushek from Blackhawk in the finals, 2-1 in tiebreaker 2. Caden Berger, I think, came into this match ready to rock and roll. And, those Reynolds guys, just they find ways to get, prepared for those big matches. Berger's a 2-time state medalist, finished 7th and 5th previously. Dushek was a 3rd-place finisher last year, but that was a great win for him. Surprisingly, Ty Simmerman does not make it back to the medal round after finishing 4th as a sophomore, 6th as a junior. He's not going to place as a senior. He lost for the 2nd time this year to Carter Gill from Hickory. Now, this was weird how this played out, Eric. Gill loses to Warshall from Richland 5-2, drops down, beats Jack Moyer from Chestnut Ridge. He then beats Ty Simmerman 7-2, then loses again to Cooper Warshall. I'm shocked that Cooper Warshall was 3rd and Ty Simmerman's not going to the state medal round.
You know what? And I don't want to toot my own horn too much here, but I had somebody text me a couple weeks ago and say, man, look at these 5 guys, or the 4 guys in the Southwest region. And they said, one of these guys at least probably isn't getting through. And I said, for me, it's Ty Simmerman. He just didn't seem to be wrestling as well. When we saw him at Powerade, he didn't have the offense that we've seen from him when he was at the lower weights. And, Ty's a great wrestler, but it just didn't seem like it was clicking for him this year. Whereas Cooper Warshall, he's kind of flown under the radar. Richland hasn't been a great dual meet team or, had a lot of powerhouses on their team. And just the way these matched up in this weight class, Carter Gill is so hard to take down and so funky and so scrambly, but Cooper Warshall finished on him seemingly every time he took a shot. He finished cleanly, and that was the difference there. That Ty Simmerman couldn't finish cleanly on Gill, and it just gave him fits. And Cooper just took him down, I think 3 times. I guess it was only 2 times in that first matchup, but just was able to finish really easily on him, which most guys can't do. And that was really the difference for him in this, is that he was able to finish on those. So there were just a lot of stylistic differences in this 145 weight that, I'm not sure that Warshall beats Simmerman in a matchup, but he could beat Gill and Gill could beat Simmerman.
Yeah,
so it was kind of, just depending on how styles worked out.
And I don't want to make it seem like Warshall was not, in the mix to win that,
I don't know, Jeff, you've been pretty hard on him. You had him, his dad's like, hey, why is he always on Cooper? He's saying Heminger is going to give him fits in the Southwest region.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, Cooper proved it to me this past weekend for sure. He was 8th in the state last year. And I think maybe I forget that. And maybe I forget the fact that, he did have a great state tournament last year.
Because don't forget, he had Gage McClanahan and Eric Gibson in front of him.
Exactly. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember,
he was right with McClanahan a couple times.
Yes, he was. And I apologize. I underestimated.
No, I'm just kidding. His dad's a great guy.
He is.
Goes back a long way with my family. So yeah. Good for Cooper. He's a great kid. He actually, I did a story about him. He had a heart defect when he was born that he almost died from, and they told him he wouldn't ever be able to wrestle or play football or do anything like that. And eventually got cleared by like his 8th grade year. They said, "Yeah, go ahead, you can do it in high school," but he has to go back every year and get that heart checked out every other year, and make sure that he's okay to wrestle. So good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's take a look at where he's going to land in the state tournament bracket. Now, no favors were given to him. Nathan Higley from Sullivan County, right out of the gate here. Nathan
Yeah,
Higley,
that's tough
25 and
draw.
1. His only loss is into the finals of Levi Haynes from Biglerville, who's ranked top 15 in the nation. Higley is just an absolute stud. He's going to George Mason. Last year, he was 4th in the state. He was a qualifier as a sophomore freshman. He was 6th in the state. I like Higley a lot. Warshaw, though, hey, he can find a way to take him down and beat him. I think he's right in that match. Berger draws Noah Frack from Brandywine Heights. Noah Frack's a 2-time state medalist, up about 3 weight classes. He was 7th as a sophomore, 5th as a junior last year. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 state medalists that already have multiple state medals all in that bottom half. Then you add in Kenny Dushek and Patrick Edmondson, also 2 guys that have state medals, and Levi Haynes and Carter Gill, who also have state medals. Literally, it's like Oprah Winfrey throwing out state medals to all these guys. Hey, you get a medal, you get a medal. Carter Gill, again, hands full was Levi Haynes. Levi Haynes, to me, is the guy here. It's just a matter of how the rest of them shake out. Kenny Dushek, Levi Haynes, I think could be a good matchup. We saw Kenny Dushek at Powerade wrestle really tough, but I don't think anyone can really hang with Levi Haynes.
Now, I mean, to me, I wouldn't be shocked if we see Haynes and Higley again. I think that's a real possibility of seeing that East matchup again.
Yeah, I think there's Higley's is a guy who, he wrestled hard. He wrestles really tough, and he's going to be in your face. He's going to look to put you in uncomfortable positions. But Edmondson's another guy who was a state medalist 2 years ago and looking to get back to the podium. So I think everyone from the West Super Region's got really tough draws here, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a brutal bracket.
Yeah,
Again, with 8 guys, it's going to be. But man, this one, as you said, everybody we're used to those guys being on the podium in Hershey.
Yeah, right. I mean, they've all lived on the podium in Hershey, which is crazy to have all 8 guys. I'm gonna have to do some research and see. This may be the only bracket where all 8 guys are already state medalists. I'm gonna have to look that up, but I believe that to be true. Let's go up to 152 pounds, where Grant McKay from Laurel, he was a very, very impressive, winning by major decision over Connor Yoder's kind of surprise finalist here. And we talked about him coming into the season, on the top incoming freshman report. I think I had him down like 120 pounds, and you were like, no, I talked to him. He's going to be way higher. Well, he's 152 pounds. He wins over Jack Rimpa in the first round, who's a state qualifier, a senior from Fort LaBeouf. 5-3 in sudden victory, then grinds out a 1-0 win over Luke Moore to get to the finals. Grant McKay, on the other hand, fall in a minute, a 5-0 win over Hudson Holbay from Westmont, and then a major decision over Connor Yoder. So McKay is the guy here, but man, you got to like what Yoder was able to do.
I do. And again, I'm going to toot my own horn here a little bit, but I looked at Dyson before the start of the round, just as the round was starting. I'm like, Dyson, my upset pick of the first round, Connor Yoder over Jack Rimpa. And I was like, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm going to look pretty smart if it does. And he goes out, beats him in sudden victory. And then the win over Luke Moore didn't really stun me either, because this was a District 5 finals rematch where Moore won 4-2, but there was a pretty controversial call at the end that Yoder could have looked like he had a takedown and could have tied that match up. So I knew he was right there with Luke Moore. So yeah, big wins for him. And he does not match up well with Grant McKay. This is the 3rd time this season that McKay has majored him. So, Yoder making a lot of progress, but he does not want to see Grant McKay again.
Yeah, and for me, the interesting part is Hudson Holbay from Westmont. He was a state medalist as a sophomore 2 years ago, and was a regional qualifier, then 8th in the state, then finished 7th in the region. He hasn't been able to get back to the podium in Hershey, unfortunately. He's 3rd in the region. Loses to Grant McKay 5-0, not a bad loss, but then loses to Jack Rimpa 7-4. and is just, he's knocked out of competition. Ends up winning in the 5th place match, but like you talked about with matchups and at 145, maybe head to head Connor Yoder and Hudson Holby, Hudson wins, but just the way the
and he
bracket
did last week.
Well, I know that, but I'm saying, like, even in this
Yeah.
matchup here, like, even if they wrestled a true, 4th, if you will,
Right.
or it's maybe it's going to happen a different way, but
And
yeah,
that's the way a lot of wrestling is. I mean, one guy can, and we see it how many times when we're doing a ranking and we're like, okay, 2 beat 3, but 3 beat 1, and you're like, man, what do I do here?
yeah,
Because these guys, depending on who wrestles who, one guy may win, and it can be a mess. But that's what makes it fun too, because different guys have different strengths, and it can play out differently depending on who you're facing.
160 pounds, AJ Corrado from Burl finds a way to win, not easily.
Wait, didn't we skip the state bracket there?
Did we skip it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me go back to
Why
it.
why do you hate 152 pounders?
I mean, it's, I thought
It
Cooper
was Joe's
Warshaw was
fault,
in it,
wasn't
and I thought Cooper was in it, and I want to disrespect him so much. Honestly, I'm going on my 2nd straight hour of podcasting.
Yeah, it's all Joe's fault.
Clearly Joe's fault. I'm on, sleepless nights. I'm changing diapers. There's a lot going through my brain right now, Eric. Let's talk about the state bracket. Devin Deem from Montgomery, Jack Rimple on the top. Dalton Gimber, Connor Yoder. Gimber is a guy who is I feel like he's been around forever. I mean, he has. He was a state qualifier as a freshman, was a state 8th place finisher as a sophomore. He had a good tournament in the East Super Region. Michael Dugan, Luke Moore, Alan Alexander, and Grant McKay. I can't see anyone here touching Grant McKay. I just can't. I don't see anyone. I hate to say discount everyone else, but I just can't see anyone else touching Grant McKay.
Yeah, and I'll admit I don't know as much about these East guys as I do a lot of the other weight classes. Devin Deem, I looked him up and I'm like, wow, he wasn't a state qualifier last year, but has really turned it on this year, because I do know Dalton Gimber, and that he's able to finish ahead of him. I mean, that's impressive. But yeah, to me, it looks like Grant McKay is kind of the guy here.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about all the medals from 145. At 152, there's not a whole lot of state medals. Isaac Corey, who doesn't make it out of the East Super Regions of state medals, he was 7th from Montoursville. Gimbor was 8th as a sophomore. Holbay was 8th as a sophomore. Again, he's not there. Devin Deem was 6th in the region as a freshman, 5th in the region as a sophomore. So, like, in terms of high-end talent and high-end power, there's just really not a whole lot of, and even Grant McKay, he was a state qualifier last year for North Allegheny in AAA. So, it's you're talking about the state medals. There's just not a whole lot of them.
That strikes
Dugan,
me as really odd for 152 as well, because that's usually a weight class that you've got 32 pounders growing into, and 38 pounders, and these guys that have been there before. And in my mind, 152 is usually one of the strongest weights in the state, because you get so many of those talented guys that kind of grow into that weight class.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's odd. It's unusual. I mean, when Michael Dugan from Boiling Springs, who's a sophomore, state qualified last year, is your number 3 ranked guy, you're like, okay, well, this is a little bit more wide open. Is it okay if I go up to 160 now, Eric?
Yeah, now that we've covered 152, I think those guys, hey, they're state medalists, Jeff. They deserve some credit. I don't care what you think.
This is why I'm only a JV world champ. That's okay. That's clear. I'm a JV world champ. 160 pounds, AJ Corrado from Burl. 3-1 over Andrew McMonagle from Central. Tough match. 3-1 over Ryan Wyant from Forest Hills. 3-2 ultimate tiebreaker over Cole Casillo from Johannesburg. AJ, you got to open up.
His lucky number.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Well, he's a state finalist from a year ago. Clearly one of the top guys in the state. 150 plus wins for him. Let's just talk about this real quick. AJ Corrado wins it. Ryan Wyant takes him to overtime, then goes down, beats Hunter Wetosh from Phillipsburg, Osceola, loses to Oleg Melenek from Carleton. What happened there, Eric?
Flying headlock. And It's been a strange postseason for Ryan Wyatt and Oleg Melnick. Wyatt teched him. Was that at Powerade or Midwinter Mayhem? One of
One of
those
the
at
two. Yeah, one of
yeah.
those.
So he texts him there. Then last weekend in the regional tournament, they meet up. Melnick builds, I think, kind of a big lead. Wyatt comes storming back, reverses him with like 8 seconds left in the match, take the lead. Then Melnick gets a reversal right at the buzzer to win it. Crazy match. You think, man, this week can't possibly live up to that. This time, Melnick is they're on their feet. I think it was a 2-point match. Final 10 seconds. Melnick, they're not even touching. Melnick comes flying at him, throws a headlock from like 6 feet away, gets it, puts him on his back, and gets 2 back points to win it at the buzzer.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean that. That's. I know you were texting and saying like, what is just happening here, right? Oleg, man, shout out to him. He's wrestled so well. For a guy from Carleton who is a regional qualifier, district 8th, then a regional 8th. He makes it not only to the state tournament per se, but he also earns his first state medal. I'm very impressed with him. Carleton doesn't always get, the respect that, a team like Burrell does or some other guys. But they always seem to have some tough grinders, hard-nosed, blue-collar wrestlers like Oleg. And I think it's nice to see him get a medal. Ryan Wyatt is a Division I recruit. He's going to Lock Haven. He was a state medalist last year. He is going to get another state medal this year, but it's just a matter of where he falls in the bracket. So let's go to the 160-pound state bracket. Holden Garcia from Notre Dame Green Pond, a sophomore, is at the top. That's a very, very tough first-round matchup for Ryan Wyatt in the opening round there. And, Holden Garcia last year was a state qualifier, so he's been to Hershey before. But you look at Avery Bassett, Cole Casilio in that first match. I think Avery Bassett wins there, and I think he ends up getting to the finals there. Bailey Gimbor from the bottom from Hamburg. He's got Oleg. I don't think he's going to get flying headlocked to get, taken down. But Nolan Lear and AJ Corrado. Are you kidding me? First round match. It's just, it doesn't.
I mean, that's a state semifinal there.
That's a state semifinal there. Two guys with a lot of, horsepower, a lot of just go, score. Both these guys can put up points. Now, it's interesting because if you look at the East Super Region, Avery Bassett and Nolan Lear wrestled. They wrestled 3 weeks in a row. District 4, they wrestled in the Northeast, and they wrestled in the East Super Region. But it wasn't in the finals because Bailey Gimber from Hamburg upsets Avery Bassett 4-3 in the semifinals. Holden Garcia beats Nolan Lear 5-2, and then Garcia beats Gimber. So if that doesn't show you how deep the East is here, I don't know what does, because Bassett and Lear are two very, very high-quality guys. Bassett's a guy who was 3rd in the state last year, nationally ranked. He's going to George Mason, Super 32 medalist. The kid's a real deal. And he loses to Gimbor, who loses to Garcia. And it's just very strange. But what it does is it sets up that AJ Corrado, Nolan Lear match. I can't wait for this one. Nolan Lear was 5th last year. AJ Corrado was 2nd. He's earning his 4th state medal as a senior. But talk about such a tough break for him.
So he could have to, the East is just incredibly difficult, and this is what would make it so difficult. But, Corrado to win a state title could have to go through Nolan Lear, Bailey Gimber, and either Avery Bassett or Holden Garcia.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, how brutal of a road is that to get to a state title?
Imagine. So last year you're a state runner-up, and you think, all right, next year I'm a senior. It's supposed to get easier. Right? It's supposed to, and it certainly is not potentially for AJ. But he's a heck of a wrestler, very nice, young man, and I love all those Borough guys, and win, lose, or draw. I think. He's going to be just fine moving forward in life and in wrestling. So, but yeah, talk about just such a deep bracket. Now, unlike 152, you've got a lot of guys here with state medals. AJ Corrado, Avery Bassett, Nolan Lear, Ryan Wyatt. They all have state medals. Bailey Gimber's looking for his first state medal. Holden Garcia, same thing. But it's a little bit more. You got a little bit more depth here, so it should be a lot of fun. Let's go up to 172 pounds, where the freshman Rune Lawrence from Fraser, following in his footsteps of older brother Thane, he gets the super regional win again over Malachi Duval of Penns Valley, 9-4 in sudden victory. Eric, can anyone stop this freshman?
Well, you mentioned deja vu, and this was one of those matches because both of these times, just the way things have worked out, I was trying to do an interview whenever this match started. By the time I get to Matt's side and see what's going on, Malachi Duval has a lead. It looks like he's in cruise control, going to win the title, and Rune Lawrence just comes storming back and finds a way to beat him. And, I talked to both these guys afterwards, and Duval actually gave me some insight. He said one of the things that made it really difficult was in the second period, Rune Lawrence rode him out. There were no points scored, but he said Rune was just so tough on top, and he kept working on the right arm. He said that really tired out that arm. He said come the third period, he's looking to try to snap down, and there's just no strength left in the arm. Yeah, so he said that really took away his setups in that third period, and that really affected him. So it wasn't the points that Rune scored, it was the points that he didn't allow by riding him out, and also just the energy that he took out of him. So, again, the composure that the freshman shows, to me, losing in the third period, not getting upset, not, really forcing things, just stays calm, works his way back into it, and then wins it in overtime.
And the impressive performance for me here was Ethan Barr from McGuffey. He finishes 5th in the Southwest, gets pinned in the first round by Rune Lawrence, who he got pinned by earlier in the season, bounces back, beats Suds Dubler by fall, beats Gage Musser from Commodore Perry, who is a very, very tough senior who last year was 4th in the state. He's going to Air Force. He beats him in tiebreaker 2-1, but then pins Timmy Church from Fort LaBeouf to take third. That was a huge performance by Ethan Barr from McGuffey. He's going back. This is his second trip to Hershey. First time he's going to be earning a medal. But Rune Lawrence, Malachi Duval, very good chance we could see that again in Hershey. Eric.
There is, I think Gavin Garcia might have something to say about that, though.
No, you're absolutely right. Gavin Garcia from Southern Columbia, 24-1 on the season. Last year was 3rd in the state. Year prior to that, he was 4th in the state. He's Garcia, so he's pretty darn good. I think he gets to the semifinals. I think him and Malachi Duval match up. Now, let's not forget, both of these guys were 3rd in the state last year. Garcia, Duval, both 3rd. Duval was 7th the year prior to that. I think this would be a heck of a match should it happen. Jacob Jones from Saucon Valley is there as well. On the bottom half, though, Rune Lawrence, I think, has a very favorable path, although Ben Halbert from Palisades is not one that I'm going to look past. Halbert names, those guys are pretty darn tough. I just think that Rune Lawrence, he's a tough matchup for anybody, and I expect him to get to the finals. Gavin Garcia, he better come prepared to wrestle a guy like Rune Lawrence.
Well, and like I said, I'm not saying he gets past Duval. I think that's going to be a fun semifinal that we'll probably see is Garcia and Duval. And then if we do get that Garcia one, that one's interesting to me because remember Gavin Garcia was the stud freshman a couple of years ago, coming off all those PJW titles that he won, and to see him now be kind of the elder statesman as a junior, taking on the up and coming guy in Rune Lawrence is kind of fun.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's kind of a reversal of roles there for, the passing of the guard, if you will. Let's go up to 189 pounds, kind of like 113. This was just bonkers as well. So Ethan Finch, I've been super high on him since he finished 4th at the Super 32, signs with Pitt a week later. He's the real deal. He beat Shane Kemper 9-0 in that first match. You're thinking, okay, you beat a returning state medalist 9-0. You're in pretty good shape. Then he takes Kutchember to overtime, 8-6. He wins that, goes against Trent Schulteis. He is now, he wins 5-3. It's just incredible, his run. But talk about Trent Schulteis beats Karpinski 6-4 in sudden victory. Karpinski had just beat Ian Eckenrode 6-4 in sudden victory. And Kutchember gets pinned by Ian Eckenrode from Cambria Heights to not make it out of the super region.
I didn't get to talk to the Quaker Valley folks after this. I don't know. Greg and I talked last week when I filled in for you on War Up that Patrick Kutchember forfeited the final last weekend to Trent Schulteis because what happened was he got stitches in his lip. And I talked to the coaches a little bit before the start of the Super Regional, and they said that he was okay for this weekend, but that he still had a couple stitches in there. So they got kind of, not the old school face mask for him, but kind of the newer one that, is not supposed to be as bad. But I really wonder if that face mask affected his ability and just it seemed like he gassed a couple times in this tournament, and I'm not making excuses for him, but I am wondering if that had something to do with it, that face mask, because he seemed to kind of struggle at times late there against Finch, and then against Eckenrode. I actually didn't see it. I was watching that match, and Kutchember got a takedown with like 10 seconds left to go up by 3, and you think, okay, this match is over. I kind of turned my focus away, and then I hear, for what the small crowd was a really loud roar, and I look back down at the mat, and somehow Eckenrode did an elevator from a sitting position, takes Kutchember all the way over, pins him on the out of bounds line for a spot in Hershey. I mean, it was just incredible. Like, I don't want to encourage anyone to go to Flow, but if you have the insider thing, go back and watch that match, because the ending to it is absolutely bonkers.
I mean, there was a lot of good matches at 189 pounds. I mean, there was just a lot. I mean, these guys were all so close with each other. I mean, these were
and then the Schulteis Finch. I know Schulteis, I talked to him afterwards. He was very upset, didn't think it was 2. He tried to funk, and Finch was kind of around the side. They gave the 2 with about 3 seconds left in the overtime period. So, I mean, this was, and I mean, we saw it from the Whippeal on, that you had Schulteis, you had Kutchember, and you had Kemper, who could seemingly pretty much beat one another on a weekly basis.
Right, exactly.
And then you throw Finch in there, who's at the same level, and Karpinski's pretty close to that, and Eckenrode isn't far off. I mean, it was just a bananas bracket.
Well, I don't think it gets any more easy when you go to the state bracket. So let's go to 189 pounds. Cale Krebs from Montoursville, 31-1 on the year. He's at the top with Ian Eckenrode, Bryce Enders, Trent Schulteis. I like a Cale Krebs, Trent Schulteis semifinals match with Cale Krebs winning. Cale Krebs just seems to have Schulteis' number. Wesley Barnes from Southern Columbia, he's on the bottom half with Cole Kapinski. Barnes is a sophomore. Last year, he was 4th in the state. And Ty Sinowitz from Saucon Valley is down there with Ethan Finch. I think Finch and Barnes wrestle with Finch going to the finals. Cale Krebs versus Ethan Finch, I think, is the finals. You have any different, Eric?
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see Wesley Barnes in there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's, clearly, Wesley Barnes is a guy who knows how to win, finishing 4th as a freshman last year. But I just think Finch finds a way to win. He's been doing that, for the last couple weekends here. And I've just been so high on him since that Super 32 finish. I think he just keeps that momentum rolling. Let's go to 215 pounds in the West Super Region, and the winner was Dayton Pitzer, who spent not more than really 6 minutes total on the mat. He wins in 3:14, 54 seconds, and 33 seconds. That's a nice day at the office there for Dayton Pitzer, who was a state champion 2 years ago. Parker Moore from Phillipsburg Osceola, who was 4th in the Southwest region, comes out firing. He beats Hayden Linkeroff from Corey, who was very tough, 4-3, then beats Colin Milko from Carlington 3-2. I mean, talk about a guy who can turn it on at the right time. I mean, last year he was a state medalist in a weight where, a lot of people were saying like, okay, what, he was 16th in the state coming into this week with not a great record, not some great results, but he was 6th in the state last year. He's the guy who's earning his 2nd state medal, and I don't know how he's doing it.
He's fun to watch. I mean, he's not the most physically imposing guy. You look at him and you're like, yeah, that guy's huge. And then he lost. He was in the consolation bracket one match into his district tournament this year, returning regional champ, and he had to face the guy that he beat in the regional final last year in the first round consolations of the district tournament. And he keeps I think last week he had to wrestle Pitzer in the first round, and it's just like he just keeps getting all these obstacles thrown in his way, and he just keeps finding a way to make it through. So like Parker Moore is like the little engine that could, and he just keeps finding a way. But you throw Dayton Pitzer in front of him, and that's a little different kind of obstacle.
That engine, that train's coming to a complete stop right quick at 215
Dayton
pounds.
Pitzer is like that old the old cartoon where you paint the tunnel on the side of the mountain.
And
he's the mountain, and just people run into that, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, and they're never to be seen again. Hayden Linkeroff comes back to take third. Eli Reese, are you kidding me, from Knock? He's third in the Southwest region. He was in AAA prior to this. Knock was. He comes down from heavyweight to 215, earns a state medal. Shout out to Eli Reese. What a great performance to end his career. He beats Colin Milko, who again I feel like has been around forever, from Carlington 4-2 to get into that third and fourth place match. Cale Black from Eisenhower, who I was very high on. He was state sixth place last year after losing to Pitzer, falls to Linkeroff from Corey.
Yeah, how's that for a bad draw?
Yeah, that's definitely a tough draw for him. Linkeroff is a guy who beat him the week prior, but it was a tough draw for sure. If you look at the state bracket, it gets a little interesting because you have Cale Krebs at the top. Now, Cale Krebs or I'm sorry, I don't know why I said Cale Krebs. Dylan Bennett, two Montoursville guys. They're both very good. Dylan Bennett on the top.
Did you see Dylan Bennett just committed the pit for football?
Oh, I did not. For football, not wrestling.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Are you a big Narduzzi fan? I know people hate him. I don't know if you're a fan of him.
I don't have a problem with it.
I feel like they're just
mediocre. I'd like to see him win some more games, but
yeah. He always has an excuse. As Mike Tomlin would say, the standard is the standard. Dylan Bennett is at the top half with Eli Reese. I like Bennett there. Dante McCaffrey from Saucon Valley, Parker Moore. Who knows who wins that one? Honestly, if Parker Moore can find a way to win, he probably could be a state semifinals.
If they put it in IUP, I'd have him in the finals.
Okay, if it's at IUP, he probably wins. Nate Wickersham from Tamaqua, from out in District 11, he's pretty tough. He's got Linkeroff. I like that matchup there. He was actually a state medalist last year, was Wickersham from Tamaqua. He finished in 8th place last year. Linkeroff, on the other hand, was a regional 5th place finisher 2 years in a row. Savari Shelton from Bermudian Springs is an interesting matchup. He didn't have a great East Super region. He's going to have Dayton Pitzer start. I don't, again, see anyone touching Pitzer throughout this tournament. Dylan Bennett, he beat at the Powerade tournament. I expect a Pitzer-Bennett final. Do you have it any different, Eric?
Nope. I think that one is almost set in stone.
Okay.
Pitzer is, other than Nick Feldman, he just seems to be on a completely different level than everybody else in the state.
All right. So we are going to end it at the craziest weight possible, and that is heavyweight. My gosh, this was bonkers as well. So Nathan Taylor, it really proved himself to be the guy here. He gets a fall over Matt Watkins from Tussey Mountain, gets a fall over Guy Rocco John Danello from Reynolds in 1:37. So he's only on the mat for 2 periods total. Then he gets a major decision over Marvin Beatty from Marion Center, who was probably one of the hottest wrestlers coming into this tournament, having the great regional tournament that he did. And Taylor just takes it to him. Major decision. The story for me is not having that Jalen Stevens Nathan Taylor match. I think we were all kind of looking forward to that. Jalen Stevens, a guy who has been on the cusp year after year after year, loses to John Danello from Reynolds, 3-1 Sun victory. He comes back to take 4th place. This one was, other than Nathan Taylor, Marvin Beatty, yes, he had a great super region or Southwest region, but he wasn't close with Taylor.
No, and just a little side note here, the Beatty Miles was interesting because that's where the coaches nearly got into a fight at the end. It was pretty heated. These two wrestled the previous week, and Miles took an injury time as he was about to go to his back, and he did it again this week. and the Marion Center coaches were not happy about that.
Not so
And
pleased.
Miles is a guy who tries to throw everyone with mostly successful, and he did throw Beatty in this one and put him on his back and was winning 5-0, I think it was. And Beatty came all the way back, got a takedown, I think, in the final 20 seconds to take the lead, and then pins him with almost no time remaining. And then the coaches were screaming back and forth, and some hand gestures and some R-rated conversation.
Hey,
And
look, it's not a wrestling tournament without some hand gestures and some R-rated comments. All right.
one of the things that I've found is the biggest things that not having fans in there means is that the coaches can hear each other at almost all times, and that's not a good thing. When you hear coaches, you can hear what they're saying to their kids, and the other coach can hear what they're saying to their kids, and they can yell at each other. Like, I don't know how many times I've seen that the past couple of weekends where coaches are yelling back and forth in the middle of a match, screaming at each other about what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing. And
just ask my boy Terry Brands. I mean, did you see that?
I didn't. I saw something about it, but I didn't
go
see
on
what he
Twitter.
actually did.
It's pretty funny. Terry Brands is clinically insane, and I love him so much. He's awesome. But yeah. So 285 bonkers.
Yeah, Taylor's just
he's on a
I
different
say
level
all the time, I love when a guy grows into these upper weights. And Taylor was a guy who was a medalist last year at 220, and he's not as big as some of these guys, but man, is he put together. There's not fat on him. He's just a big boy, and he's so athletic that he really gives some of the guys that do have weight on him, he still gives them fits because he's just so fast and quick and strong.
Now, how about Jordan Shell from Girard? He wrestled really well. He gets pinned in 22 seconds by Mitch Miles, comes back and wins 3 straight to take third, including a 1-0 win over Jalen Stevens. I mean, that was very impressive to me.
Yeah. And Shell's a guy I didn't know too much about, and just is able to kind of grind out a couple victories there. The Stevens ones, he seems to always be in those low scoring matches, so that was interesting. But yeah, able to bounce back from that Miles loss. And if you go back, I bet Miles he might have 20 pins in under a minute this season. Like, it's incredible the number of falls that he had in under a minute. But he was always looking for that big move, and when he couldn't get it, it's tough for him. So yeah, that was a really interesting weight, and I didn't even realize. Yeah, Danelio beats Stevens in the first round and then doesn't make it out.
Nope, doesn't make it out. Yeah, I mean, it again, just a crazy kind of bracket here, and a lot of guys are earning their first ever state medals. You have Marvin Beatty earning his first state medal, 3 trips. Shell earning his first state medal. Mitch Miles earning his first state medal. Or I'm sorry, Mitch Miles is sorry, he's not earning his state medal. He didn't make it out. Riley Robel from Bishop McDevitt earning his first state medal. So you look at the state tournament bracket. Eric, look at Riley Robel from Bishop McDevitt, Jalen Stevens' first round matchup. Now, Riley Robel, you talk about Nathan Taylor. Riley Robel is a guy who grew from a 220 pounder to a heavyweight.
Didn't I see he was at 82 last year?
Yes, he was. I don't know if
he was an
finished.
82 pounder.
He's wrestled. Yeah, well, if you remember, he was at the Surge last year, right? Yeah, 200. What year was that? 2019. He was at the Surge last year. Wrestled 195. He did end up wrestling 182 in the postseason. Now he's a 285 pounder, undefeated, 28-0 on the year, and won the East Super Region. He's got Jalen Stevens first round. I don't know what to expect there. I mean, if Jalen Stevens wrestles like he has been, it's gonna be tough for him. Emmanuel Ulrich from Mifflinburg, I really like him. He's a sophomore, 31-2. Him and Marvin Beatty should be a really good match. Jordan Shell is gonna get Hogan Swinsky from Bermudan Springs, who's very tough in his own right. Caleb Burkhart from Hughesville's get Nathan Taylor. I like Nathan Taylor to win this bracket. I don't care who they put in front of him. I don't care if it's Robel, Stevens, or Beatty. I think this is going to be a Nathan Taylor's to win.
Yeah, and I was really interested in seeing Nathan Taylor last year because, like I said, I knew that he was a really good 220 last year, but I was interested to see how he would handle some of these really big athletic heavyweights that there were in the Southwest region. And you look at those results and you say, yeah, he had no problem at all with that. The weight was not an issue at all. I don't see it being an issue this week either. I think he's your 2021 state champion at heavyweight.
You heard it here first. True power participant Nathan Taylor is gonna win it all. Eric, an hour and 7 minutes. So we're a little bit over the power hour, but it's certainly very much under the power hour that I did with Joe Youngblood. I was getting text during the show. I got pictures of my kid upstairs saying, "Daddy, please come to bed." So apparently I gotta go. Either change a diaper or tuck somebody in. So
just tell her it went the ultimate ride out. You had to win that JV World Champ title again.
She asked. She's like, "I don't understand your shirt." I'm like, "You wouldn't understand." It's I love my wife, but she wouldn't. Wouldn't get it.
How much did the fact that it was green and black play into your purchase?
Oh, I mean, probably 90% of it, but also because I wrestled JV for a period of my high school career. So
it green and black.
Yeah, right. I mean, everything was perfect. It was like everything just worked out. Yeah, Eric, I can't wait for this weekend. I won't be there, but I will be there in spirit, and you'll be there rocking and rolling for PA Power, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So appreciate you taking the time out tonight to talk with me about the state tournament coming up and recapping the West Super Region.
Yeah, I had a great time doing it. It was a lot of fun. It will be different without you there in Hershey this weekend, but I'm sure you'll still be texting us and tweeting us and following along at home. Maybe a little spit up on the shirt, but
yeah, you better believe that. I was watching Big Tens with Little Gentry yesterday, and he was happy to see Spencer Lee and Mikey Kemmerer win, and I had to cover his ears when Terry Brands was talking. I don't want to get in any bad habits early, but so we're gonna have some fun. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. Again, appreciate your time here, Eric, and we will talk to you very soon. All right.